Hey, yo, 10 a.m. and we live on a Saturday. What's going on, everybody? How you doing? Ladies and gentlemen, fellas, playoffs. We here. We made it. We got the super. Are they going to call this every year? The super wildcard weekend slate. Oh, baby. Damn. It's fun. Look, there's some news that we got to siphon through. Some news that didn't just break, but some doctors weighing in on it as of 5 minutes ago. Some Twitter doctors, football guy doctors, real life doctors as well. But yeah, got some news, some things to have to consider about Mr. Cole Beasley, who looks like arguably the best value play of the slate. But what is this new status that we just got as I was coming on here? I just posted it into the Patreon Discord. Tweet was released about 6 minutes ago that the doctors are weighing in. The Twitter doctors, the football guys that I believe Gene works for, basically saying that this is a pediatrician, a physician, an actual doctor, saying that from everything he's seen, and keep in mind, Duke Williams was elevated from the practice squad for the Bills today, so they have extra support there. So maybe we get the news, but if Cole Beasley is even active today, it might not be good. And that's a big thing because I'm getting a lot of Cole Beasley. I just reran a crunch fading Cole Beasley as if he was active but not playing. So, yeah, they've got probably 6 wide receivers that are going to be active today. They have Isaiah McKenzie. They have Gabe Davis. They're going to have now Duke Williams, who played last year, I believe, out of the CFF. The College Football League, CFL. Yeah, so that's big news. That's big news that we just got struck with right when we were coming on. So that smacked me across the face. I saw that. I was, settle down. Let's get back into this. Let's see what we got going on. So I'm here now to smack you all with that one. Hopefully you're not too startled. But yeah, we have to track this news on Cole Beasley closely because, look, sometimes there's reports, and it's just like, the report was he's going to try and gut it out. He's week to week. That doesn't feel great. His price point's fair, but it doesn't feel great if his gutting it out is going to impact his ability to run routes, to get open as much, to get downfield quick enough, right, to be able to push off on these injuries. So that is a concern. But what's up, everybody? I'm going to answer your questions, all that stuff. Before we do, I got to let you know today that this video is brought to you by Jock Market. And Jock Market is loaded. Not only does Jock Market right now have NBA contests today, not only do they have some major contests right now for the NFL playoffs, they have PGA contests. They're loaded right now. What is Jock Market? Well, it is fantasy sports meets a stock exchange. Yes, you can buy stock in players. And just now, I got the email from Dave, I believe one of the founders over at Jock Market, if not the founder. Got the email from Dave that said, hey, yo, we're going to give you your peoples that sign up. Instead of giving them $10 Rooskies now, they're getting $20 Rooskies. So if you download the app, totally free, Android, Apple Store, wherever you might be, you buy stock in players. So for today, the market is going to be open for, typically for the NFL slates, 4 hours. They typically close an hour before the NFL slates start. So what that would mean today is in 2 hours, or about halfway through right now, and you just buy stock in players. It's called the initial public offering. Now, once the market closes, that's not it. If you missed out on it, you can still try and buy and sell some shares, but you're not going to get the best value on them, right? It's not a bidding process. You're now buying, let's just say somebody else is reselling them to you. So you're either paying a premium or you're just trying to take a risk. Same exact thing, kind of in the same there. But yeah, the code SAL10, or SAL20, sorry, the old code was SAL10. The code SAL20, they'll give you up to a $20 deposit match. So SAL20, SAL20, to let them know you came from me. But Jock Market's a ton of fun. In the NBA, it's a ton of fun because there's floating around news every single second, so you can try and take advantage of that by buying some shares and stocks of players when news is breaking right before lock sometimes, which is we've had some live stream reactions. It's pretty crazy. They're going to be sponsoring the Tuesday live streams for NBA from now on, so that should be a little bit wild. But yeah, for the NFL, it's going to be a ton of fun. They have different slate sizes in there, so be sure to check it out down below. It is, I believe, the future. Like, DFS is going to stay around. It's going to become not obsolete, but these sites like DraftKings and FanDuel, they're pushing towards sports betting. So in 5 years, if one of them cancels their DFS product or really just stops investing in it as much and there's not great contests, there's other sites that are going to be like SuperDraft, like Jock Market, that are filling other niches around that there's not a total competition for. In this daily fantasy sports Jock Market, stock market kind of clash, I think it is honestly the future. People have been trying to do this for a while. Now it's actually becoming legal, so you can do it. So check it out. But let's answer your questions. Let's discuss some things. Let's have a nice little conversation here. This next hour until 11 a.m. East Coast time, going to be answering your questions. And then we have a couple hours to just relax, chill out, relax, max, all cool. Obviously, there's some football games to watch today, some DFS to sweat, NBA as well. I'll probably try and play some Frisbee golf as it's finally not raining where I am and cloudy. So yeah, sounds pretty fun. Somebody says, trying to make a paycheck today, says Mr. Alexander Sins. Yeah, man. Make a paycheck, make a couple paychecks, lose your paycheck, whatever you're going to do. Whatever you're going to fucking do. Goals and to not lose it, though. Let's go, fellas, says Mike. What's up? What's going on, Mike Lowry? How you doing, my man? How you doing? Fellas, it's playoff season. Levon, you're fucking right it is. Hey, Salvatore. Yo Salvatore, full name. Uh-oh. Only my mother calls me that. Yikes. And sometimes my sisters. If Beasley is out, do you prefer a more safe Brown or Davis for savings? So I assume more safe Brown means as in John Brown, unless you're talking about like the Browns on the full 6-game slate. If you're talking about John Brown, yeah, I prefer John Brown to Gabe Davis. If Beasley is out, though, Gabe Davis's projection I'll have to change. Right now, I'm projecting this as if Beasley is in, and I mean, I'm going to have to change some things, but I'll project this as if Beasley is in and limited is what I'm going to have to change my projections to if I choose to do that based on these reports. Right now, I'm projecting him to be a full go. So I did 2 crunches. One is if Beasley's fine today and not really going to be limited, and he looks fantastic. He looks like arguably the best wide receiver playing the slate. And the other one is if he is actually limited and out there, and I don't really want to get to too much of him. Yes, Gabe Davis becomes a little bit more appealing. John Brown becomes more of my exposures just naturally from not getting as much Cole Beasley in there, and because I'm stacking double stacks for all my lineups as of right now, and I would be getting a lot of Josh Allen still, so I would get John Brown, like triple the amount of John Brown basically, if I was not to play a heavy amount of Cole Beasley. Because my original ownership on Cole Beasley, before seeing any of the news, and I mean, I've been trying to monitor it, but we haven't had much news on it, we still really don't, was 67%. There's a chance that is extremely too high if he's going to come out there and play injured, but that's a decision that has to be made over the next 3 hours or so, and I'm hoping that we get a little bit more news based on that. I'm hoping that it's an absolute. I'm hoping that he's ruled out, so we don't have to worry about too much about it instead of trying to guess what is his snap counts, is he going to be limited, this and that. But the move of adding Duke Williams to the practice squad, the reports by the doctors on Twitter and stuff like that, those are encouraging, well, not encouraging, but those at least give me hope, encourage me to actually know what's going on. But the moves by the team, paying a player to get a game check today, is a little bit concerning about how they feel about Cole Beasley. Duke Williams, a slot receiver. Cole Beasley, a slot receiver's full on health for this game. So do not know if that means Cole Beasley will be out if he's testing it out. But I do think I'm going to end up projecting him to be somewhat limited today. So instead of this massive point projection that I currently have him on, you could check it down below, the projections, the ownership. I have Cole Beasley for 15.2 fantasy points. Honestly, that's not even as high as I assume a lot of people in the industry are, because I actually tried to ramp it down a little bit for the uncertainty. Probably take it down a couple more points, get a lot less Cole Beasley and a little bit more John Brown after this stream. We could update that for Patreon. Single entry, somebody says. Hey, yeah, single entry. Play some single entries for sure. I'm ready to get smacked around. American Bold says he's ready to get smacked around. We got almost 400 people in here. How y'all doing? I don't do GPPs. You guys can keep wasting money on lottery systems. My man, you just said you play single entries. That's a GPP. Guaranteed prize pools? You talking about large field? Sup, chat? Let's get these dollar whiskeys for sure. Awesome. What's up, my man? Evan, what's up, my man? How y'all doing? What do we got? I know this is an NFL stream, but damn, Keldon Johnson remains 1.9x in Superdraft. Yeah, it's great. I've been playing fantasy football since 1995, 26 years. I'll be cashing out today. Hey, best of luck. Sal definitely got me on couple of bags before the XFL and PJ. Yeah, man. I can't wait for the XFL 2022. I literally have in my notes of things to do either this weekend in time and stuff like that. NBA projections, which I got to do today, and then XFL media deal with The Rock. That's obviously a bold aspiration, but it's not that many people probably creating daily XFL content, and I'm sure that they could use it. So trying to talk through that. I was in talks with the XFL before they went under. Some of their social media guys, the main one, Bailey, just here and there, not in-depth talks, but talks about how can get some content going for the XFL, partnered with them through their social medias and stuff like that. It was going in a positive direction. Now trying to get in touch with The Rock is not going to probably happen, but, we need to climb up the ladder a year in advance. We'll be there. Hello, Sal. What's going on, American? How you doing? Fellas, let's go. Smash that like button for sure. Gronkowski or Thomas? Big question for you, my man, Sal. Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, I have more Thomas. It's going to depend on your lineup. It's going to depend on your stacks. I have a lot more Thomas. Thomas is my highest owned tight end right now because, he's just the best tight end play, in my opinion. We can go over to tight ends right now. I currently have like 40+% of Logan Thomas today. But yeah, he's going to be my top owned tight end, my top play tight end, but it depends on what your lineups are. Now, between Thomas and Gronk in that specific game, it makes it pretty appealing to just get to Thomas because he's a nice run back option for you. So I think I prefer Thomas, especially even if you're not running it back. I prefer Thomas as a one-off, and if you're stacking up Tampa Bay, I'd rather run it back with Thomas than play Gronk. If you're stacking up Washington for whatever reason, well, then you can make a decision on the tight end spot, but you're probably trying to stack up a Terry McLaurin and or a Logan Thomas. So I think Thomas over Gronk for me in a single lineup if I'm building. And that's going to be just kind of followed in the ownership. We have ownership right now up on Patreon. Thomas is going to be the highest owned tight end today. But it's going to be probably more distributed than you think. He'll be the highest owned. Gronk will be up there as well, one of the higher owned guys. But there's a lot of tight ends on this slate that are in play. Like I have ownership towards a good amount of guys. You can see right here a bunch of X's on guys that I have ownership towards. Basically, I have 5% or more ownership on these guys. I have a no by Jack Doyle, but I have 1% of him. I've got like 1% of Greg Olsen, 1% of Jacob Hollister. So I've got ownership towards like a lot of these tight ends on the slate because they're basically touchdown dependent for many of them, right? Even all the way up to like Higbee at 3,400 is relatively touchdown dependent. Trey Burton at 2,800, like these guys are dirt cheap. You're probably, if you're not playing Logan Thomas, you're basically punting tight end. I plan to play Logan Thomas because he's not expensive and his target share is just nuts. We'll see what happens if Heineke's starting, but I probably won't change too much. Projections will drop a little bit, but nothing crazy. Good question. What's up, everybody? It's Vegas Dave's birthday today. Why the same advertisement every live stream? Love it. I don't get what that means. Why same advertisement every live stream? Love it. What you mean, my man? Hey, we got a lot of people up in here now. A lot of questions. I appreciate it. If Beasley is out, how does that affect McKenzie? Yeah, it'll increase his projection. I'll still prefer Diggs, John Brown, Dawson Knox, and Gabriel Davis ahead of McKenzie, though. But it'll increase his projection. And I think that you're going to be getting a lot of... If Beasley gets ruled out, you're going to be seeing a lot of inflated ownership on McKenzie. Just because of what he did that final game of the year. Punt return touchdown, 2 receiving touchdowns. I want to see how many routes he ran. Obviously, the second half of the game was just backup, so I believe he got to run wild a little bit there. So this is going to be inflated because I would like to see how many routes he ran in the first half of that game. Isaiah McKenzie from Buffalo, when he scores 2 touchdowns. Let's see how many routes he ran in the entire game. So he ran 36 routes, so 6 catches, 65 yards, 2 touchdowns, had the punt return touchdown. Finished on 9 receptions with 24.5 fantasy points before the punt return touchdown, so 30 plus on DraftKings. I'm very curious what he did in the first half. I assume he just played a full-time role. No Beasley that week. Limited Diggs. And a very limited... Did John Brown even play last week? Let me pull this up. Gronk and Logan Thomas, somebody says. Yeah, they're the top 2. I don't think they're the top 2 tight ends. I actually have more Dawson Knox than Gronk because of just getting a lot of Allen. Yeah, so... John Brown played last week. He actually got some pretty decent usage. 4 for 7. Yeah, he scored a touchdown. 4 for 72 and a tutty. Ran 26 routes. Not bad. 50% of the snaps. John Brown's way underpriced today. Especially even if Beasley plays, we now know that he's going to be pretty damn hurt. So John Brown is way, way, way underpriced today. I'm definitely going to be getting more John Brown. On the Patreon podcast this morning, I talked about John Brown, what my ownership was on him, and kind of what I'm going to be doing with that. Looks pretty good. Rivers will spend the day on his back and on the bench. Sounds good. Sounds good. Thanks, Al. Got that cheddar last week looking for a big wild card parlay. Yeah, last week was fun. Last week was a lot of fun, right? I mean, Deshaun Watson just keeps doing his thing each and every week in NFL this year, and now it's sad that we can't play him in the playoffs because his team sucks. His team sucks. Scary Terrier, Antonio Brown, DK Singletary. Scary Terry, my man, Jonathan, how you doing? Sal, hot take. Rivers puts up over 400 yards and 4 tutties. Uh-oh. I've got 8% Rivers somewhere around there. Let's see in my new crunch what I got him at. I got Rivers in 8% of my lineups on my crunch from this morning, trying to work some things for Cole Beasley. I got Rivers in 6% on my most recent crunch. Yeah, so if you're a patron or anything like that, I'll update any projections if I change anything for Cole Beasley. Hopefully we just get news that we can change it based off of because he's going to have every opportunity to run the routes. It just then depends on how he performs. What does that adrenaline feel like? How's he feeling? Is he getting shot up with stuff, right? Their moves make it a little bit that they don't have full confidence in his health. They added I assume they're going to add a 6th wide receiver to the roster unless somebody's going to get the healthy scratch, right? Because you have Diggs, you have John Brown, you have Beasley, if Beasley's active, right? You have Isaiah McKenzie, you have Gabe Davis, and now you have Duke Williams that was signed from the practice squad. They're not signing Duke Williams from the practice squad to then make him inactive. And if they do, that's just a terrible use of funds. I guess it's an insurance policy they basically take out, right? If Beasley goes out, then he says he's tightened up or he doesn't feel great, then you rule out. Or if the opposite, if he says he feels good and all that stuff, then you still make inactive for whatever reason. I assume they're just not going to have like a 3rd quarterback active or something like that. Thoughts on Chubb today or tomorrow? Yeah, so thoughts on Chubb tomorrow. I haven't ran anything for tomorrow. I'm just playing the 3-game slates. I'm not going to, as of right now, I'm not playing the full 6-game slate. So I don't have any strong stances in terms of what my exposure is on him because I've not projected anything for the 3-game slate. Not playing the 6-game slate, so clearly I don't have anything projected for that. But for Mr. Nick Chubb, let me pull it up right now. I'll pull up my projections on that side. But I think that Nick Chubb, basically where his ownership coming in right now, he looks like we'll pull this up. Bam, take that over here. Basically for tomorrow, for the 3-game slate, at least is where I'm projecting the ownership for this. I currently have Nick Chubb projecting out for around mid-20s in ownership. I right now prefer James Conner, but he's obviously a lot cheaper. Chubb versus David Montgomery, I'll probably prefer David Montgomery as of right now. just the passing game usage for David Montgomery. It's actually dropped a little bit. That past week, you got that passing game usage back, but they were also leading in a lot of those games because he was running the ball 20-plus times a game, right? Then they get behind in a big way against the Packers, and you see a massive receiving game for him. So based on what you're seeing out of the Vegas odds, I think that Montgomery will play from behind again. More passing game work for him. Bada bing, bada bang. So Nick Chubb is a good play, but he's picking up more ownership than I thought he would, at least for the 3-game slate, which I assume is going to be pretty reflective of the 6-game slate. Obviously toned down because there's 3 more games on the slate. Rank your favorite Colts receivers in order. It would be Hilton, Pittman, and Pascal in that order, and then that's it. What do we got? Where are you going with tight ends? I feel like the best way to go is one who is going to be based on red zone targets. Yeah, I mean, sure, that's kind of factored into projections, just touchdown upside, right? So Logan Thomas for the 3-game slate today. Logan Thomas, Gronk, Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox more so just because of stacks and he's cheap. Like, I don't prefer Dawson Knox over Logan Thomas or Gronk projection-wise, right? But he's kind of in that next category, and he's cheap, and he allows me to get even more stacks of Josh Allen, which is really what I want to be running today. It's by far the best stack on the slate. If I told you that it was a coin flip, basically you're probably getting close to a 50% chance that, if not more than that, that the Bills are the top stack today. So Josh Allen plus a player on his team, I'm going to be stacking up with doubles. And then you run it back with something else, right? So that's what you're looking at. So if I told you right now, hey, it's a coin flip, and this has happened a couple times this year. One time it didn't work out with Patrick Mahomes. 2 times it did work out with Patrick Mahomes when I said this. And then he was only like a 30% chance to win the slate, not even like a 50. Because there's just 6 games on the slate. You can basically cross off 2 of these teams, if not 3 of them. You're getting 5 teams that have like 45, 55, somewhere in there percent chance of being the top stack on the slate, meaning that quarterback in the winning lineup plus some players on his team, run back option. Or you have Josh Allen, who's probably going to be right around 50%. So I'll just take that coin flip more times than not. They are cheap to stack up with, whereas on the opposite side of that, Seattle's a little bit more expensive. I believe Tampa Bay is pretty similar in terms of how to stack up their skill position players, and you have more options with Tampa Bay. Not by a lot, but you have more options. Just 3 receivers deep, you can go there. A pretty sturdy tight end. And then you also have running backs that I think are very much on play, like Ronald Jones. The running backs part is the concern for Buffalo stacks. But I don't really like stacking running backs anyways. I'm just okay with it because there's a lack of options today. So, yeah, tight ends will really be based on stacks outside of Logan Thomas, who just looks great in anything. Russ and Metcalf stack, who are your top run backs from the Rams, or does it depend on Goff's status? Yeah, it'll depend on Goff's status, but the top run backs for me are going to be Akers and Kupp. I have ownership towards like all those guys, really, like Woods and all that. But Akers and Kupp, I like. I think that Kupp is going to be extremely under-owned today. And if Goff's in and half healthy, which it seems like he's not going to be, well, maybe half, but not fully healthy, I like both Akers and Kupp as run backs. I do think that Russ and DK is a fine stacking option. I do think that DK has a brutal matchup that has given him trouble this year against Ramsey. But DK is fucking $6,700, right? That specimen of a man is only when was the last time he was 6,700? I don't got DraftKings pulled up to scroll down, but I would say like week 2, right? Maybe week 3. So yeah, actually they took a couple weeks until after that Dallas game to really price up the Dallas receivers properly, and they really never got them right all season long. And then also the Seattle guys got priced up like week 5 or 6, and then they never came down, even after Lockett continued to put up like less than 5 fantasy points a game for like a fucking month and a half. But yeah, that's my run backs, Kupp and Akers. Somebody says, talk to us about the running backs. Yeah, let me pull up the running backs page, my man. Yeah, so running backs, this is a loaded slate for running backs. I like this. If you're playing the 6-game slate, it gets even more. Like running backs on the 3-game slate today, but also the 6-game slate are going to be pretty important. You're going to have a lot of lineups, so you have 3 running backs in your flex, and that's okay. I prefer, because of how many great wide receivers there are on this 3-game slate today and the 6-game slate, I prefer to just have wide receivers in the flex. Easier to stack it up, easier to run it back, easier to hit some ceiling outcomes, in my opinion. But there's a lot of strong running back options. Carson, Jones, and Akers are probably my favorite options on the slate. The reason I don't have more interest in Taylor is I'd rather pay for the upside quarterbacks and upside wide receivers than pay for Jonathan Taylor. Nothing against him. 6.5-point underdog. Maybe a little bit more Naeem Hines action in the passing game. His projection-wise looks decent. He's my highest projected running back, but he's also $2,000 more expensive than any other running back on the slate. So that becomes an issue. Guys like McKissick and Hines, I'm getting sparing amounts of. I do think Hines is an interesting large field tournament play, right? If you're playing in a 300-person contest, you don't need to play Naeem Hines. If you're playing in a 100,000, 200,000 person contest, a milli maker, yeah, I think Naeem Hines becomes a very interesting run back option of Buffalo stacks. If you're going with a Josh Allen with a Diggs, who was dealing with an injury this week as well, so just keep an eye on that. Josh Allen, Diggs, and say John Brown, you're running it back with like a Hines and Hilton or something like that, I think that's a pretty interesting way to go about it, because you're then assuming Allen's putting up a lot of points. So maybe, and based on Vegas, that means that you're going to be getting a playing from behind Nyheim Hines. So yes, I don't love the usage on the ground for Hines, obviously, but you're playing a specific game flow there that correlates well together. So I think that Hines is more so in playing larger field stuff. But yeah, I'd prefer Hines over McKissick in larger field stuff for sure, at least in my opinion, for basically the same price point, very similar players. I think Hines is a better player than McKissick. McKissick's getting a ton of usage with whoever probably the quarterback's going to be. But give me Hines just because of the stack. I'd rather stack up the Indy and Buffalo game than the Tampa Bay and Washington game. Sal, I have inside info. Jack Doyle's going for 2 touchdowns and 150 yards today. Uh-oh. Watch out. Yeah, I mean, they got that 3-headed tight ends out there. It's pretty tough. I've got more Burton than Doyle, but I mean, I got like 8% Burton and like 1% Doyle. Just tough. I mean, Doyle's not running routes, right? You're going to be lucky if you get 15 routes out of Doyle. So that's the concern with playing like a Jack Doyle, who is basically just touchdown or bust at this point, right? Jack Doyle, no times this week, has scored 10 or more fantasy points. Not one time this season has Jack Doyle scored fantasy points, and that's or 10 or more. That's extremely hard to do when you have 3 touchdowns. Jack Doyle has 3 touchdowns this year and not a single game of over 10 PPR fantasy points. That just tells you that he's catching 2 passes in a game and getting you a touchdown, basically, right? So, yeah, Jack Doyle is not that encouraging to me. Trey Burton, I think, would be a little bit more encouraging. He runs deeper down the field. He's running more routes in general, but they're using 3 tight ends now that all 3 of these guys are actually healthy. Mully Cox might be a little bit banged up still, but what you're getting out of Trey Burton is, to close out the season, 19 routes run, right, compared to Jack Doyle's 10. So Trey Burton has scored 10 or more fantasy points 4 times this year. So, I mean, it's just a weird barometer to be looking at, but I think that you just have a little bit more security if you're choosing one of those tight ends. Obviously, you're joking with the big Jack Doyle, but just to touch on Mr. Jackson Doyle. XFL makes monies. Yeah, XFL is going to be fantastic when it comes back. I can't wait. Yo, Sal, what's a good lineup for today's slate? Well, definitely starting with Aaron Rodgers. So there's the secret. If you are a subscriber to this YouTube channel, and especially if you're a subscriber to Patreon, you'll have unlimited access to Aaron Rodgers, in which you get to choose, since it's the playoffs now and he has a bye week. It's a special that they're running just based on our Patrons and our YouTube subscribers. You get to choose any single performance from Aaron Rodgers' season this year and place him in, but only if you are a member of the Patreon or a member of YouTube. Not really, but if you are, you get to have that. So, yeah, so I would start with Aaron Rodgers, and I mean, it's pretty simple to be able to get that exposure to him, is just become a YouTube subscriber and a Patreon subscriber. There you go. What do we got? What's your favorite defense? I mean, the one that's going to stand out the most is if Taylor Heineke starts against the Bucs defense as a big underdog, right? But favorite defense, whichever one fits into my lineup that I like, leave a little money on the table if possible with the defense. But, I mean, the one that's going to stand out is the obvious one is Tampa Bay. Watch a guy like Hollister be in the millie. He'll probably have 2 catches, 20 yards, and 2 tuds. Sal, how are you looking for the season? Are you up? Yeah, I mean, our season was made week 5, whenever the Cowboys versus the Seahawks game. We won $17,000 that week. So, yeah, we're up over $20,000 rooskies in the NFL right now in DraftKings alone, not even factoring in Super Draft, stuff like that. It was a good year. I mean, the second that we hit that in week like 4 or 5, if you follow my content already, you know I don't play the Million Maker. You know, I play 150s, but I'm not maxing out $3,000 into the Million Maker just to hope that one time in 10 years I'll make money, right? I'm not fucking doing that. It's not my personal interests. But I play small field events. So I love the contests that are $75 buy-in. There's $1,000 to first. There's only 100 people in it, right? Those are the contests I like. I also play like the 333 single entry stuff. 777 I played the 1500 a couple times this year. Stuff like that as well, where it's just 200 people or less. Most of the time, those prize pools are not going to be your $1 million. Most of the time, those prize pools are if you can bank a $15,000, a $10,000, or $20,000. So those are the prize pools that I'm trying to take down. I don't have any interest in playing the lottery for $1 million. I don't have any interest in playing the lottery for $100,000. I do this to turn a profit. I do this to turn a profit to, one, do it because it's a hobby and it's fun, but also turn a profit in it. And I don't think that the way that I like to play, in terms of my bankroll, the way that I like to play in terms of how I get enjoyment, I don't think that I would be turning a profit if I just played the Million Maker or these large field events every single week, or at least enjoying it at the same time either. And I mean, if you turn a profit once out of 3 years, you're set, right? You win the $100,000 once out of 3 years. You should be set as long as you know how to manage a bankroll. But that's not how I like to play personally. I probably played that way in high school, and I probably lost a few $1,000s throughout a couple of years of high school. And then in college, I was just like, let's actually try and do this a different way. Let's stop playing the contests that have 100,000 people in them. When even if there was 100 people in them, I literally have a 1% chance, assuming same skill level for everybody. 100,000 people, you have 0 chance. Literally 0.0001%. So that's if you're even the best player in the field. You still have that statistical chance just based on that. So, yeah. But yes, a good year for the NFL, and we're trying to make that continue. There's not as many contests in the pool as a main week, but there's still a good amount. Akers or Connor in Superdraft? So Akers versus Connor in Superdraft. Let me pull that up because they're on separate sheets for me. Akers I've got for around 20 points. Connor, Mr. James Connor on the other slate. I'll take Akers there. Akers is going to have every opportunity in the world to see all the touches today. Tough matchup, but to see all the touches today. Logan Thomas, great play on Superdraft. Agreed. Sal, thanks for the content this year and being there to give us a laugh during these tough times. You're a man. You are the man. Ryan, shout out to you. Thank you for being here. I mean, I would just be talking to an empty screen. I probably wouldn't do it if there was always 0 people in here. If there was like one person, I just talk to that person one-on-one, make sure to see how the day's going. But yeah, the fact that people like to show up to these things, have some fun, obviously information driven, right? But also, get smacked around, have some fun, talk about other stuff. What was it? A couple nights ago in the NBA, we were talking about whatever. Oh, I got to meet J. Cole, for people that don't know. I met J. Cole in North Carolina here in a UPS store. If people want to know the story again, we can go through it. But basically, I started to realize it was him. He was wearing a Dreamville hoodie. He got out of a Lambo. He was dressed the way that he was. But, you get to be basically like how you see him in any music video. Wherever you see J. Cole, the dead giveaway was the dreads and tall as fuck, like 6'4" probably. And then I was just like, all right, this is J. fucking Cole. So I was just like, hey, man, appreciate you and your music. He said, much love. Little fist bump. Went on with our days. But yeah, we were talking about that, and some guy's like, I thought this was a fantasy stream. What are we doing here? And we just told Steve to fuck off. Simple as that. Steve might be in here these days. Steve, it was just a joke, but yeah, fuck off, man. Can you show the receivers page, my man? Yeah, just a click of the button, a little flick of the wrist, a little flick of the pointer finger, and there you go. 1.5 G's on the NBA last night. Hey, Mr. Jake Slick Rick in the chat right now, winning 5 G's. Flick through that money. Is a 210 lineup okay today? I probably won't. There's way too many good. I mean, there's a ton of great running backs and a loaded wide receiver position, so I probably won't. Best super draft picks? It depends on what position we're looking at and what day. Clarify, and I can give you some ideas. But yeah, we have full super draft projections over on the Patrons. Sal, when building a single entry or 3 max, how do you evaluate ownership on these compared to compressed slates? I mean, I have projected ownership that I use on Patreon, so I use my own projected ownership. I understand how little ownership is going to be going to these 4 or 5 man game stacks that I'm running today, and that's why I like it even more, right? People are not going to think that, even if people that usually stack, they're not going to think that they have to stack on these types of slates because they're so small. I think it makes it even more appealing because of that. Because when Josh Allen today is 45, I have him at 42% projected ownership. When Josh Allen comes in at 40% ownership today, if you're going to have him at 40% projected ownership, but you're 5-man game stacking or 4-man game stacking, that stack itself is going to be, I don't know, sub 5% owned, right? Somewhere around there, depending on who's in that lineup with him. So yeah, that's why I don't worry as much about it. So, and also like a lot of the single entry contests I play in are below 1,000 people, below 500 people. So I don't have to worry about the person that plays, let's just say, like Isaiah McKenzie today, and he has 80 yards, right? I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not projecting that, but if it happens, I don't have to worry about that type of variance outcome. If he catches a pass for 30 yards and a touchdown, something like that. But I basically evaluate by still stacking, and that basically lowers ownership from there. But then we talked on the Patreon podcast this morning. There's one really good spot on the slate, like incredibly good spot, where you're going to get a lot of leverage on a player that has upside, that has a similar projection to basically 90% of the slate, and it's going half as owned as those guys for the 3-game slate that is. So that's a player that I'm personally, we'll keep that for the Patrons, I'm personally going to probably be leveraging in 3 max lineups. I've not yet built my single entry lineup yet, but if there's a potential chance to pivot off of somebody who is twice his own, 3 times his own as him to get to his projection, which is like a half a point difference, I'll give you a hint. It's a male. It's a man. So hopefully that helps. He self-identifies as he, is from what I've heard. But there's definitely spots to pivot, but just being able to fall on game stack alone makes me not have to worry as much about ownership, even on, like you said, this compressed slate. Good morning, Sal. Who's your favorite super draft play today? Yeah, if we're talking about the 3-game slate, I assume you mean, I'll go to a single position. Jonathan Taylor, he has a 1.25x multiplier. It's not going to shock you, but I like him on super draft, the running back position. We have to see what happens with Cole Beasley. I can't really answer that for wide receiver yet because Cole Beasley's apparently going to be playing limited today. They elevated a practice squad wide receiver, Duke Williams, who played for this team last year. He might have even played in the playoffs last year, I believe. But yeah, that's not great. So we got to make a decision on what we're going to do with that. If we're going to lower the projection on Cole Beasley, if we're just going to keep it as if he's playing the full game. Because now this comes down to pretty much subjective stuff. I've got the projection where it should be if he played a full game. But now we have to kind of take into account news and the decisions that the team is making transactionally right now, giving a paycheck to Duke Williams to be active for this game. Is that just as insurance if Cole Beasley gets hurt again, or is it actually they know something we don't and he's going to be on a pitch count or something like that? Hopefully we get that news would be the goal within the next 2.5 hours. But I think the best way to do it is to just allow people like you people and then also people on Patreon to understand what the news is. Keeping the projection the way that it is as if he played healthy today. And I'm already kind of docking in a point or two, 15.2. It's a little bit low just for this risk. But just to let people know that, yeah, you're 50% ownership on Cole Beasley. If that's the case today, you play 100 lineups, you have 50 lineups with them, which seems fine to me. That there's more risk than usual in that. Do you use a Mac? I think it's time to upgrade from my 2014 MacBook Air. Yeah, I got a MacBook Pro, I believe, back in 2018. It was like, it's got the touch bar. I don't give a shit. I don't think I've ever used a touch bar outside of like when I first got it, seeing what it could do. But it was like, they were selling like the floor model. So it was like discounted. Like the one with the touch bar was like, I got a total for like $1,700. It was like a $2,500 computer. But I could have either paid more for the one without it or just taken the floor model. So yeah, I think it's a 2018, 16 RAM, i7 processor. I'll probably upgrade soon to either a desktop or another Mac. But yeah, good questions. Good questions up in here. Taylor is a fantastic play. Yeah, it looks good on Superdraft. Not as much so for me on DraftKings. He looks fine. He's my highest projected running back, but he's also $2,000 more expensive than the next closest, Chris Carson. Taylor's been great. He has a good matchup. Everything looks good for Taylor individually. The only difference is I'd rather pay up for the Stephon Diggs, Terry McLaurin's of the world, and Josh Allen's and those types of quarterbacks than a running back position where there's a lot of other running backs that are going to see volume, right? Like we can go over to Mr. Jonathan Taylor today. If Jonathan Taylor sees 18 touches today, I feel comfortable about Ronald Jones and Chris Carson and Cam Akers coming in that neighborhood. Maybe even Antonio Gibson if the game stays close enough, right? So yeah, that's the one distinction there. Like as for Steph Diggs, who is going to be $7,700, $1,000+ probably too cheap for a 3-game slate, even if he is a little bit nicked up and injured, as long as there's nothing major there in the news. I want that guy who is cheaper than Jonathan Taylor all day long, who is averaging like 6 more fantasy points per game in games where he hasn't left early. Steph Diggs, like last week, just because the game was over, and the week before that because of like late in the fourth quarter. Yeah, I want that guy more. I'm getting him a lot more, and that's the main reason why I'm not getting Jonathan Taylor is because I am very close to locking in Steph Diggs today. Cup or Woods? I'll go Cup. Hit that like button, you bums. Hey, we ain't got no bums. We probably got some bums in here, but we're not gonna ask anybody to raise their hands. But appreciate that, Kyle. Hit the like button. How many players from one game is too much? I think 5 is the max that I'll go from one game today. 5-man game stack. We're not talking about defenses here, just positional players. I definitely prefer Gronk over Knox. Yeah, I have Gronk projected for more points than Knox. I have more Knox though because I plan to play a lot more Buffalo stacks. So when I'm getting Josh Allen and every single one of my Josh Allen lineups has to have 2 Bills in it, well, I'm gonna just get more Dawson Knox in that lineup than when I don't need to have as much Tom Brady, and then Gronk doesn't get into those stacks as much. And also Gronk is going to be blocked out of his stacks a little bit more as a run back option with Logan Thomas. I'm not running tight end in the flex. I told somebody I'm not doing it. If you want to do it, if you want to play Gronk and Logan Thomas in a game stack and a flex together, that's okay. That's fine. I just think there's way too many viable running backs. Like in my opinion, there's 7 or 8 running backs in the slate, maybe 9 that are strong, or at least in play. There are about 6, 7 that are strong options for GPPs, and then there's just an endless list of wide receivers. So I just don't want to be hoping that Gronk goes for 40 yards and a touchdown today, right? Or you have the combination of the two of those guys having to score 20 apiece, whereas there's going to be multiple wide receivers definitely dropping 20 points today. Nice football weather here in Buffalo, New York. Let's go Bills. Hey, you're from Buffalo, my man, Mike? Mike, I've been to the Buffalo game. It was Aaron Rodgers' worst game ever, at least to that point. I think it still is. Jordy Nelson was wide open on a deep touchdown, just missed him. But they lost that game. It kept them from the 1 seed, kept them from being at home field advantage in the playoffs. But what is the little town? Is it like Aurora, New? I forgot where we stayed, but it was so nice. I got these German nachos. Oh my God, they were insane. But the town was really cool. We stayed in a bed and breakfast. It was a ton of fun over there. Can you run Cam Akers and Carson together in a single entry? Yeah, definitely. I'm fine doing that, 100%. Cup's going to go off. Cup looks good. Akers or Rojo today? I have more Rojo, and I have Rojo as a better value than Akers today. I have Akers for about a fantasy point and a half less. My man Gerald getting the likes up. Appreciate you, my man. Brown or McLaurin today? McLaurin for me. DK has never been this cheap. Is that right? Like not even week 1 he wasn't 6,700. Is that you actually saying that, or is that like a fact? I was trying to think, like, was week 1 the cheapest he's been? 6,700. I feel like he's been cheaper like week 1 or so. Yo, Sal, top super draft plays? What position, my man? What position? Yo, hit that like button for our guy, Sal. Definitely. Why no McKissick? What do you mean no McKissick? McKissick's right here is a maybe. He's right there. J.D. McKissick. What you mean? I got about 8% McKissick. Thoughts on Corey Davis against Baltimore? Looks fantastic. Yeah, that's tomorrow's games. Yeah, Corey Davis looks fantastic. My top value at the wide receiver position right now. I haven't ran any crunches, so I don't know how much of him I'm going to be getting. I don't, as of right now, expect to get a lot of Ryan Tannehill, but it's just sort of a one-off as a bring back in any Lamar stacks or Lamar naked lineups, which is, if you're building with an optimizer, you better know how tomorrow, because otherwise don't play the 6-game slate, don't play tomorrow's slate if you're using an optimizer and you do not know how to set up a scenario where you can still get Baltimore stacks, but also get Lamar Jackson. We talked about it on the Patreon podcast today, but also get Lamar Jackson naked lineups. Because if you're only running rules with stacks in them, you're going to ruin the amount of Lamar Jackson shares you can get, because his stacks are not that appealing as always. If you're only running lineups where you only get Lamar Jackson naked, that might be more beneficial to you, right? But if you're not stacking, having stack opportunities in there as well, I think you're playing the slate completely wrong. So I would refund all your entries to yourself, withdraw if you're using an optimizer, if you're hand building, whatever. This 6-game slate and tomorrow's slate, if you do not know how to properly set up in your optimizer how to get lineups with both Lamar naked and how to get lineups with full-on game stacks for Lamar, a single stack, all that type of stuff, because it's going to be very important. McKissick's going to get 14 receptions today. All right, play him. Hines or John Brown for you? John Brown. Would you play John Brown and Antonio Brown together today, Sal? I'm sure one of my lineups has them both together. I prefer John Brown, though. Akers and Carson in the same lineup? Yes, that's fine. Wish I could play Singletary, but not getting goal line carries. Yeah, he's not getting goal line carries. He's not seeing carries in general. These guys are not running the ball in general. Like, this team doesn't run. Even when they're up by massive amounts in the second half, they're still throwing the ball downfield. Josh Allen is running in the red zone still and the goal line, just like last year. Can we see the wide receiver page? Yeah. There you go. There's some of them. Anyone playing the full weekend slate? I'm sure, yeah. I mean, the full weekend slate's fine to play. I just need to prioritize some things, right? I want to play NBA. I still have golf going right now. I don't feel the need to play the full weekend slate. The 6-game slate's good, but I prefer these 3-game slates a little bit more, and there's better contests for them. Just that's the main reason, right? If the full 6-game slate was the one that was headlined by the Millie Maker and had a bunch of contests after that looked fantastic, I would play it, but I'm not playing cash, which seems to be like the best thing for the 6-game slate. There's some contest in there, but I think I'm good without them. But yeah, nothing wrong with playing the full 6-game slate. I have enough exposure in DFS already today and this weekend. I'm good without going for more. Akers or Rojo in cash? I'll go with Akers. More outs in the passing game. I think Antonio Brown is the best wide receiver for the Bucs. All right, no question there. So sounds good. Do you have any Bucs wide receivers? Yes, I do. I have. So contrary of that guy's comment about Antonio Brown, but nothing against it. I have Godwin, Evans, and Brown, all of my exposures, but they're all pretty low owned. I currently have, actually it changed now based on my recent crunch. I have 11% Godwin, 8% Brown, 6% Michael Evans. So they're all like, my Tom Brady stacks are basically spread out is what that's telling you. I've got similar amounts of ownership to Gronk. I've got a lot towards Ronald Jones just because the running back position is not as many options. Aaron Rodgers, the GOAT, will break today's slate and set records. I can't wait. My man Aaron Rodgers donating $500,000 to the Barstool Fund yesterday. Just a fucking legend. If you're stacking the Bills game, would it be dumb to play Logan and F1 in the flex? So you're asking me, no, I think that's okay. They're both really good values with upside, especially Logan Thomas at his position. So if you're stacking the Bills game, you're running him back with, let's say you 3-man stack the Bills, like a John Brown and a Steph Diggs with Josh Allen, you run it back with T.Y. Hilton or something like that, right? Then yeah, I think it's okay to get Logan Thomas, and that's probably all I would want. If you're full-on game stacking, I'd probably only want at most 2 players from another team. So you can set that rule as well. If I'm running the Bucs D, should I get Ronald Jones except the Bucs to be up more and run more? No, that correlation is way overblown wherever you see it. There's correlation between having a running back and a defense together, but that correlation is way overblown. It's nowhere near enough for me to actually make that my decision point. Using any Washington football team or Rams pass catchers versus QB concerns? No. No concerns there with that. Evans or Godwin? I have a little bit more Godwin right now. Akers or Connor on Superdraft? I'll go with Akers there. Pittman or Pascal? I have more Pittman right now. Beasley or Hilton? So I have more Beasley if you're going to be playing today's slate and giving Beasley his normal projection, thinking that he's not going to be limited, Beasley. If you have concerns about Beasley's health because they've called up a practice squad receiver and the reports by Gene Bramall from Football Guys say that he thinks that Beasley is going to have to be playing very limited at best today. So if you believe the doctor's reports and that type of stuff, and you believe the team bringing up a backup wide receiver off the practice squad right now, hopefully they just rule him out so we don't have to worry about this. But if Beasley's going to play and play banged up, you have to make the decision. Do you think that affects his performance? I personally right now do, so I have to see what I'm going to allow that to do my exposures. If you think Beasley's fully healthy and you're going to play him and you don't want to take any risks or you don't care about that risk, then Beasley. Otherwise, T.Y. Hilton. So it's kind of a loaded answer there for you. Is Taylor still good run back for Buffalo stacks? Our run defense still makes me queasy. Yeah, he definitely is. He's a good run back. The concern, though, is like if you're playing Josh Allen, Diggs, and then you're running it back with Taylor, how much money do you have left over for all your other spots, right? That's the main concern if you're trying to get them all together. Fade Taylor Swift today. Fade Taylor Swift today. I was like, what's this guy talking about? Seems like we could leave a ton of salary on the table in this 3-gamer. How much can we leave? As much as you like. If you like the lineup, there's no certain amount. You want to leave $400, you want to leave $3,000. If you like the lineup, you think it has upside and it correlates well, and it's got players that actually have a ceiling and not just floor plays, yeah, I think that makes sense. Leave as much as you like. I'm playing 3 buddies today on a single entry. When playing just 3 other people, do I need to worry about ownership? Yes and no. Not really. I would play it as a cash game. I would play it as a cash game. I would play it as a cash game, but still don't be afraid to stack. Like, you don't need to full-on stack because you don't have to beat 90,000 people to win first place, or if you're playing in a tournament with 500 people, 499, right? So I would play it like a cash game. I'd build optimally. Especially so, Dave, do you think the other people you're playing against today are they watching like a live stream right now? Are they like paying close attention? Do they subscribe for projections? If the answer is no, literally just run a cash lineup, run an optimal, you'll beat them. If you think they're all the same exact skill level as you, well then yeah, you have to think about some stuff, right? But maybe leave like $300 on the table, something like that. But I'd run it as a cash lineup. Good wide receivers under $3,500 today, question mark. Good wide receivers under $3,500 today on the slate that is Saturday's 3-game slate. Even on tomorrow's slate, the answer is no. On today's slate for wide receivers under $3,500, the answer is likely going to be no unless something happens with Cole Beasley today. I think $3,500 exactly, Michael Pittman is the best option. But below $3,500, no. Nobody's really interesting to me. David Moore would probably be my most interesting option there. He's at $3,000 flat for Seattle. But that's it. Under $3,500, you're not going to find much value. You don't really have to go down there either. Unless you're trying to do the whole play Josh Allen, play Diggs, play Jonathan Taylor, play all the expensive guys, and yeah, you might need to find a value receiver somewhere. Pittman at $3,500 is the lowest that I currently have in exposure for me. If something happens with Cole Beasley, news, he gets ruled out, then maybe something happens for $3,300 Isaiah McKenzie for me in my exposures. But right now, Pittman at $3,500 flat is the lowest I go on the 3-game slate. And even like just to look ahead for tomorrow's slate, there's really nobody on tomorrow's 3-game slate that's below that price point. You have Willie Snead, $3,500 exactly, decent. Donovan Peoples-Jones at $3,200, not really enticing. You have $3,300 Anthony Miller. You have at least a little bit better options, a little bit more volume at guys below there that at least are on the field running routes, but not much. Nyheim Hines today. Yeah, I think Nyheim Hines is a really good like milli maker type play in your stacks and runbacks of Buffalo. If you're assuming that Buffalo is taking a lead, 6.5-point favorites, and they're going to be playing from behind, which then also means that worse play for Jonathan Taylor if he comes off the field, more of that type of stuff. But I'm probably not going to play Nyheim Hines in single entry stuff, at least smaller field stuff. Single entry I can, but not in some smaller field stuff. The more that I talk Nyheim Hines, though, the more that it sounds very appealing. Your concern is, though, that like you need Nyheim Hines to actually put up points. Nyheim Hines can't score you 12 points today. It's probably not enough for you, even at that cheap of a price point. Because there's so many wide receivers and so many volume running backs on the slate that Nyheim Hines taking up a flex spot for you over the likes of Terry McLaurin, over the likes of these Rams receivers, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, all those guys. You don't think one of those guys is going to score like 18 points or a couple of them, right? So that's the concern about Nyheim Hines. You're basically banking on him getting the 16 to 18 plus fantasy day, which if he's doing that, he has to be probably catching a couple passes. They have to be playing from behind. So I think Nyheim Hines is a pretty... There's 2 guys in the slate. We talked about the one earlier. We didn't give away his name. Nyheim Hines might be getting into that category of just great GPP plays today. But the one concern would be like how much of a workhorse back these last 6 weeks Jonathan Taylor has become for this team, really in the passing game as well. The other caveat to also that is that they're leading a lot in these games, right? They're leading a ton of these games, but Nyheim Hines' workload as of late has been a little bit discouraging. You did see him run 18 routes against Pittsburgh when they started to play from behind towards the second half of that game. But other than that, this is what you're getting out of his routes run. 7, 18, 10, 12, 13, right? That's his last 5 weeks. That basically correlates with exactly when Jonathan Taylor started to blow the fuck up. Now, in those games, he basically has had 10 or more fantasy points, 11 or more fantasy points in every single game since week 12 right now for Nyheim Hines. So he's still been a pretty solid producer because he catches in when he actually sees targets. He has a very high catch rate, right? 6 of 7, 5 of 5, 2 of 3, 4 of 4, 3 of 3, 8 of 10, right? So high catch rate because he's coming out of the backfield. So if this is the game where Nyheim Hines sees 7 to 8 targets, yeah, There's a really good chance that he's a strong GBP option. Would a Brady Jones and AB stack make sense? Yeah, I think that's okay on this type of a slate, a 3-game smaller slate. 3 running backs looks really good today. Thoughts? If I had to choose, I prefer 4 wide receivers to 3 running backs. I don't have a strong stance against the 3 running backs. I just prefer to full on game stack, and normally pass catchers have higher upsides. They obviously correlate more directly with their quarterbacks, so I'd rather have 4 wide receivers. A lot of projection systems and optimizers and stuff like that will probably spit you out some high projected lineups with 3 running backs in them because there's strong running backs in the slate. Jonathan Taylor, Antonio, guys who have ceilings. Jonathan Taylor, Antonio Gibson, Chris Carson, Cam Akers, Ronald Jones, right? But I prefer to have the 4 wide receivers because there's way better wide receivers on the slate than there is running backs just because there's so much more of them. So we had a couple super chats earlier. Andre Brown donates $2. He says, no, you don't play FanDuel, Metcalf or Cup. So I don't even know the prices of them over there. On DraftKings, the answer for me is Metcalf, but I don't know the price differences. Cameron donates $5. He says, thanks for respecting pronouns. Love your content. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Appreciate the $5. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for the super chats. Ladies, gentlemen, fellas. Heading into work, guys. Wish you all the good vibes, and thanks, Sal. Let's cash it. Thanks, Sal. You the man. Hey, Evan. Best of luck. Have a good day. Best of luck with whatever you're doing. Beasley is in, somebody said. All right. So now we have to make the decision of do we think Beasley, Steph, Diggs, and Beasley cleared to play? Yeah, so I'm going to leave the projection for Beasley the same that it is, 15.2 right now on Patreon. I'll put a disclaimer on Patreon after this for people that probably aren't watching this, all the Patrons over there. Just that, keep an eye on the news. I already put it in the Discord, the report about Cole Beasley. It's up to you now. It's up to you. We all have the same news we're operating with. Cole Beasley is going to be less than 100% today. Is it going to be closer to 50% or is it going to be closer to 75%? That's what you have to decide. If it's closer to 75%, I feel okay about his projection. If it's closer to 50%, getting 60% of Cole Beasley is a concern. Having a lot of your lineups leveraged around him is a concern. Let's see what the most recent Roto World report says. Cole Beasley is expected to be active. Diggs' status was never in doubt despite a limited practice. Cole Beasley's dealing with a knee. Beasley seems likely to be less than 100%. Josh Allen will have a full supporting cast. And also keep in mind that Duke Williams was signed up from the practice squad. Alrighty. Everyone drop a like. Take 2 seconds and it's the least that we can do. Yeah, hit that like button. I appreciate that. Appreciate you all a ton. We've got almost 1,000 people in here. 1,000 people for a Saturday slate. Keep in mind, if you're watching right now and you're not already, hit the like, hit the subscribe as well. Appreciate the people of Super Chat. And just be sure to remember, tomorrow at 10 a.m. East Coast time, we'll be live for an hour for the 3-game slate, right? And then during the weekdays, we do content for the NFL, PGA starting next week, and then also the NBA. NBA, this past week, we went live every single day at 4 p.m. We usually get around 600 to 800 people in there, so it's a nice little stream. We get a lot of talking. We're not going to do it this weekend, but projections will be up later today, so be sure to hit the notification bell as well, so you know when we're going live. If you have some time on your hands, you want to kill some time at work, whatever it might be. Yo, stop what you're doing and smack that damn like button. Let's get these dollar rooskies. My man James Johnson is piped the fuck up. He is buckled the fuck up for work today. Sal, sleeping on the Bucs wide receivers? I don't think so. I have a good amount of each of them, right? I'm coming in at damn near 10% of each of those Bucs wide receivers, so it's a lot of exposure to Bucs wide receivers today. Still confident in McLaurin with the QB situation? Yeah. I mean, McLaurin, since he's come into the league, a la Allen Robinson, 2 years now for McLaurin, he's had to deal with, 5 different quarterbacks, and he continues to be fine. Unless your name is, even with Dwayne Haskins, he was fine, right? So I do not have worries about McLaurin being able to get open today. Is Carson and Akers in the same lineup? Okay, yes, it is. Still confident in McLaurin with the QB? Yes, I am. Antonio Brown, John Brown, or Hilton in Super Draft today? Let me pull that up for you. So Antonio Brown, John Brown, or Hilton. I got up tomorrow's slate. Let me pull up today's slate. All right. Antonio Brown, John Brown, or Hilton. I'll go with Hilton today. I'll go with Hilton there. Cousin Sal, Cole Beasley is a lock. You will remember this message when you regret not playing him 100%. I have 60-something% Cole Beasley as of my latest run, giving him his normal projection. I don't want to play 100% Cole Beasley, though. But yeah, he's been great all year. I have locked Cole Beasley once this year on a 3-game slate, and it felt really good. Damn, you all crushed it getting to 200. Great job. Yeah, appreciate you, Gerald. Thank you, everybody. Hey, Sal, who do you like most on Super Draft for quarterback today? For the 3-game slate today in Super Draft, yeah, a couple guys. Alex Smith and Philip Rivers probably look like your best options over there based on their multiplier, but we have to see what happens with Alex Smith today. Can you go over the best cornerback / wide receiver matchups on the slate? Yeah, we have them in the game-by-game notes on Patreon. Each of the guys over there, 6-game slate, everything. So you can check some of that stuff out. But yeah, on today's slate, Chris Godwin's going to have a great matchup in the slot. You're going to have a really good matchup in the slot for Mr. Cooper Kupp as well. But yeah, Chris Godwin in the slot, Cooper Kupp. These Bucs receivers will have some pretty damn good matchups. Individual matchups, right? The entire secondary of Washington is good, but individual matchups, they're good when it comes to total defense, total secondary, factoring in their safeties, but one-on-one matchups. Be pretty good. A lot of the really beneficial matchups are tomorrow. The Steelers receivers, Corey Davis tomorrow. But the Bucs wide receivers have good matchups today. Stephon Diggs will continue to just have great matchups. I think that you have good matchups for Cup today, but Goblins is going to be pretty noticeable. Saturday, Sunday slate. Any interest in Claypool keeping salary in mind? Yeah. I don't have any crunchers ran, so I can't really tell you much. But yeah, he's in my player pool right now. In terms of guys that I have in there based on projection and ownership. We love Sal, man. Good guy. Thanks, man. I appreciate you. I'm late to the show. Thoughts on Mike Evans? Low owned, I'm sure. Yeah, I don't know how low owned, though. I'm going to be coming in definitely below the field on Mike Evans today, just like other guys a lot more. Dealing with this injury. He's priced around the range where I like 4 or 5 other guys more across different positions as well. I'm expecting to be about half the field of Mike Evans. I've been projected for 16% ownership on Patreon down below. You can follow along there. I've got about 6% Mike Evans. If you're stacking Russ with Metcalf, who would be a second guy in that stack? Spending a lot for Lockett as well looks terrible for my salary cap. Thinking about just sticking with a single stack. Probably Carson today. And I'm a guy who doesn't like stacking running backs with their quarterback unless they have a very strong target share, like of 20%, 15+%. But probably Carson if you're looking for one. I prefer Carson in that stack. Just the opportunity cost today is much lower, right? It's much lower because you just have to play a running back, and there's only 6 games with 6 primary running backs, and a couple of them have split backfield. So Carson is like one of 4 workhorse running backs on the slate. So when that's going to be the case, and quote-unquote workhorse, right? We're not talking about like the Dalvin Cooks, Derrick Henrys of the world. For this slate, relative to the slate, he's one of 4 guys. So you can play Carson with this quarterback because he can just have a good day independent. Carson scoring 15 today could be enough. That doesn't have to impact what Russell Wilson can do. So it would probably be him. For Saturday/Sunday slate, I have a ton of Big Ben stacks, like 80%. Damn. Yeah, Big Ben's not a terrible option this week. Mainly because I like his receivers' chances more so than his, right? Big Ben throwing 6-yard passes like he's done all season long. And his receivers going after the catch seems fine. Akers or Rojo in a GPP? I have more Rojo right now. Hey, Sal, Gibson or McKissick? I have more Gibson there. Ron Jones or Carson, I have more Rojo there. Cam Sims thoughts. I didn't get any. Yeah. So, first of all, Cam Sims has been good. It seemed like Terry McLaurin actually liked throwing to him. So Alex Smith, he has had much less success with. And now we don't even know what's happening with Heineke. Heineke I'm calling. I don't even know if that's how it's pronounced. Taylor Heineke, whatever it is. But Taylor Heineke was actually throwing Cam Sims' way out of desperation. Just fucking prayer balls. But, yeah, Cam Sims, I don't think I got any. I don't think I got any for the 3-game slate. Let me pull it up. My most recent run, I got 3%, but let's see what I got in my main run. My first run, if I play, I got 2%, so 3 lineups. So, yeah, I guess where I have Cam Sims currently projected in ownership is 2%. So, I guess I'm coming in around the field. So, I guess my stance on Cam Sims is, yeah, neutral. More than I thought, actually. Do you think you need to stack in tiers? No. Tiers are just projection-based. And a little bit of ownership, of course. Same team wide receivers are always negatively correlated. Yeah, it's like every single player in the NBA is negatively correlated with each other on the same team. The correlation comes from the quarterback. Cup or Woods? I'll prefer Cup there. McKissick or Hilton at my flex? I'll go Hilton. John Brown still in play with Beasley playing? Definitely. Yeah, definitely. John Brown played basically a full role, looked good in that last game. Played 50% of the snaps, played a full role while he was out there in Week 17. Yeah, John Brown looked good. John Brown might be the play over Beasley if you're concerned about injuries. Yeah, John Brown looked good. I like John Brown. Sal, what do you think about Juju as a 1.45x multiplier on SuperDraft tomorrow? Pull up tomorrow's projections. Juju looks pretty good. Yeah, he's like in the upper echelon of like 4 or 5 receivers that seem to be the highest projected guys in the slate tomorrow for SuperDraft. So that looks good. Also, we're almost an hour in today, so be sure to check out Jock Market. I got to get my shit entered for Jock Market, actually. Let me pull this up. I'll pull up the version of my app. So Jock Market, player, now that we have 1,000 people in here, not everybody earlier, it's basically where daily fantasy sports becomes a stock exchange. There's free contests, but there's also the dollar contest. You can literally buy shares in players now for the NBA, for the PGA, and now for the NFL. So they've been sponsoring these videos all year long, some live streams. Check them out. And they just updated it as of last night. $20 deposit bonus, the code SAL20, SAL20. When you sign up for their app, totally free. It's a ton of fun. It is a very slick and sleek, those are 2 separate words, interface. I like it a lot. You can buy and sell shares. You want to be getting the shares as often as you can before the IPO closes at noon today. That's going to give you the best value on them. Rarely do I buy and sell after that. I usually like to hold on to my players and trust the value I get out of them. And if I'm trying to dump them, other people don't want those guys, so rarely do I find buyers. But yeah, you want to buy at that point. So based on like value and stuff like that, you're always going to want to have the guys who have the highest projection. Like every single spot on the Jock Market pays. Whoever finishes first gets you $25 per share. So if you buy the share at $8, bam, you just had more than 3x you're buying, 300%, right? So You always want guys who have higher upsides, but maybe you're being slept on a little bit. So there's a couple of guys that I like for that this week, whether it is a Cam Akers, depending on where you can buy him, whether it is a Cooper Kupp, who I think will be going somewhat under the radar for the 6-game slate on Jock Market. You check that out. But there's a lot of wide receivers that have upside. Obviously, Steph Diggs is going to be grading out there, depending on Steph Diggs' price. Depending on his stock price today, Steph Diggs, let's see it. It's not going to be where it should be right now. But depending on his stock price, you can potentially get Steph Diggs in a situation where you're paying dirt cheap nothing for him. Like he has to just finish as a top 7 scorer today. And more times than not, he's going to finish as a top 7 scorer today, right? So that's kind of going to depend on where the value lies. The value really comes in those final 15 minutes. So I'm trying to sign in right now on my phone. I'm going to have to click forget password because I'm normally... Oh, no, we got it. There we go. So let me pull this up. So the Saturday wild card you can play each day, which is very appealing. So right now, just joined into it. They have 60 people in the player pool. They go all the way down to Tanner Hudson and stuff like that. So like right off the bat, you're going to be having some pretty good value if you just understand who these rosters and depth charts are. But already up to $4 for Josh Allen. These shares are going to start to really increase. Steph Diggs is already ranking around 4th. But yeah, those are guys that I'm going to be liking. Still Steph Diggs, unless his price point skyrockets upwards. Guys like Terry McLaurin today grade out as fantastic value. I think that you're getting value on Cooper Kupp, where he's probably going to finish. And Cole Beasley, if he's healthy, man. Cole Beasley's not going to finish anywhere near where he should in the Jock Market, but now you're just concerning yourself about injury. Favorite tight end today, Logan Thomas. Beasley or Godwin today, Sal? That is a different type of a question because they're much different in price. I prefer Beasley, just play-wise, where they rank out for me. But if you don't worry about salary, which whatever site you're playing on, I don't know. If you're not worrying about salary, I have Godwin projected for more. You like Rojo over Gibson? Yes. Corey Davis or Hilton on Superdraft? I'll go with Corey Davis. Which defense should I pick, Daddy? You should smack that word out your mouth. Here. Write down all the defenses on a card. Throw them in your washing machine. Turn your washing machine on the fluff mode, right, the gentle, and then close your eyes and pull one out and take that one. That's a very good way to pick defenses. That's actually the best correlation, not causation. It's like when it rains here, this is how many more people like receive whatever, like those fucking crazy correlation shits. Like whenever a cell phone cracks, like 100 babies are born or some weird shit like they have correlation charts for. So yeah, that's that. That's this. This shows great correlation. No causation, but great correlation. It's the best you'll get out there. Tight end list. Yeah. The tightest events. Stack the Colts, somebody says. Yeah. I mean, I think the Colts would be the one team today that I think will be going very low owned that can provide some upside. I say some upside though, because we have seen very few Phillip Rivers 25 plus point games to win you a GPP, and usually they're pretty spread out. 3 tight ends, 2 running backs involved, sometimes 3 running backs, right? 4 wide receivers. So it's so hard to find the condensed passing game share like you see in Seattle with DK Metcalf and Lockett, like you see in Buffalo with Stephon Diggs commanding a lot of it and Cole Beasley. So it's a little bit tougher. Tampa Bay has it spread out, but it's mainly the same 3 wide receivers, right? Fucking daddy, somebody said. The football guys just informed me to play Antonio Brown today. Yeah, you can't go against the football gods, right? Unless they're false gods. Then you're fucked. Rojo or Carson? I think Rojo has better upside. Yeah, I'll go with Rojo there. I'm not getting the Rojo love. Washington D is pretty solid. Is his projection going to win us a tournament? Maybe. Right? Maybe. It's just the price point on Rojo. I think that's the most appealing. I think the most appealing thing on the price point, $5,500 for Rojo, who's going to be a favorite today, biggest favorite on the slate, nice projection. I mean, you're not banking on Rojo catching passes, right? He might catch 2. That'd be great. You're banking on when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the 4-yard line today. Like, they're going to be in the red zone. They'll probably be on the goal line today at some point, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're banking on those 3 or 4 red zone touches for Rojo, 1 or 2 going for a touchdown. And he's probably going to have the best chance in this slate outside of maybe these Buffalo backs, but they just don't run in the red zone. Josh Allen runs, or they throw in the red zone, right? They throw at a very high clip in the red zone. Buffalo, whereas Tampa Bay runs a lot. So that's the upside out of Rojo. A fast-paced game with a high team total, a big favorite, and you could bank on them being in the red zone and just him getting those opportunities. That value is a lot, right? That's a lot of value when you can bank on them being in the red zone a lot. You can't bank on the Rams being in the red zone a lot. You don't know what's going to happen with Washington if they're going to be in the red zone a lot, because those touchdowns are going to swing this slate. So I don't love Rojo as a player. I think he's pretty one-dimensional, but we're just going to be banking on the price point versus the upside of touchdowns. I'm sending you a Cobb Father shirt, Sal. Your cornhole name on the back will read Daddy. Yikes. That is just... My girlfriend will look at that and just not understand what I do for a living on the internet. I think she has a pretty firm grasp on it now. Definitely not at the beginning. I think she has a pretty firm grasp on it now, but once that shirt comes, she'll kind of be questioning and looking back through some live streams and just trying to find any code in some secondary secret job that I do. Sal's the best. This is like a fantasy comedy show. My man, you think I'm a comedian? I've always tried to be funny. I've been telling my buddies that this year I want to be doing something else, whether it's later in the year, real estate investing, rental properties. There's something else to be spending my time towards. I love the fantasy sports stuff. Feel like I have a firm grasp on it, not getting content, still want to move forward with the fantasy sports, stay innovative there, but I want to be also working on something else. This used to be my side hustle, right? Now I want to have another side hustle. But yeah, writing raps is fun. Whatever it is in your brain, the creative part of your brain that turns on when you either write raps or write jokes, right? You're creating something from nothing. Like obviously that's the same thing with the show. It was created from nothing, but whatever it is, there's like something from like writing down rhymes and writing down just jokes, that whatever that part of my brain that gets like turned on from doing that is just so fun. Opinion on Jonathan Taylor. Highest projected running back by a decent amount, but he's also $2,000 more than everybody else, and I prefer the I prefer the expensive wide receivers and quarterbacks to Jonathan Taylor today. Rodgers 100% lock, right? You demand, Sal. Good luck today. Yeah, man. I mean, 100% lock. Hopefully you are a patron so you can take advantage of being allowed to play any of Rodgers' performances this year. Obviously, don't play the bad ones against the Bucs, but yeah, definitely 100% lock. Rodgers at tight end today? No. We can't be quarterback for sure. I understand what you're saying, but we could not pull the strings with some of the sites out there. I'm not going to name any specifically. Can't be held liable. We can't put him in the tight end spot. They only allowed us quarterbacks. I try to push for the tight end, so you can get those 30-point performances in the tight end spot would be killer for us, but they said it wouldn't be fair, so we'll just get his 30-point performances in the quarterback. I'm crying at the thought of your girlfriend sorting through the Aaron Rodgers and Dalaruski comments to find a girl trying to flirt. I don't think there's been a single real-life girl in any of my comments. They're all like the bots. I get like bots that I think whatever. I have a newsletter called The Morning Brew, and there's one called The Marketing Brew. Ryan Hodge put me onto it just from one of his tweets one time. And there was like they do like 4 little bite-sized mini stories for the day, tech, whatever's going on in the world, that type of stuff, some interesting stuff. And the one was about like bots on YouTube and how it's just like this big virus that's taken over. And I was just like, yeah, I actually know about that. Somebody says, pretty firm grasp, huh? I don't know what that's supposed to mean. For a showdown for your Bills/Colts game, who do you like as captain? Yeah, man, I can't help you there. I have high projections on some guys, but I'm not playing the showdown slates. I hate showdown. So the fact that I can not have to play because there's a 3-game slate and a 6-game slate sounds great. Much love, Sal. You're hilarious. I appreciate that. Come to my first stand-up. So when there's 3 people there, you could be the one that's not just standing there like this. Right? I'm good at creating drama with my wife. Unfortunately, it's not that lucrative. Yikes. Godwin, Brown, or Cup today? I'll go with Cup. Rojo and Gronk or Logan, Thomas, and Hines. You should do currency exchange. That just doesn't sound fun to me. Even if that was lucrative, it doesn't sound fun to me. Rojo and Gronk or Logan Thomas and Hines today. I'll go Rojo and Gronk. Sleeper tight end to save the day. Bills, Lee Smith. Let's go. The Lee Smith 1-yard touchdown bombs. Yeah, I mean, if Lee Smith catches a 1-yard touchdown today, I still don't think that wins you a GPP. That's the concern with Lee Smith. He has to do more than that, which that would be a lot. True the bots love Sal, somebody says. Small field. Cold stack. Rivers, Taylor, Doyle, and Pittman. I'm not going to do that. What wide receiver has the best cornerback matchup today? Yeah, probably Chris Godwin, but here's the thing. When you ask what wide receiver has the best cornerback matchup today, keep this in mind, which is very important. A lot of things in mind here. Let's unpack this. Wide receiver cornerback matchups, they face that cornerback for maybe 50% of the game, so they're only seeing them half of the game to begin with. Their safety's over top, right? They're in zone some of the game. So like man-to-man coverage might only be 40% of the time in the game. So you're already overrating it when you hear that Chris Godwin has the best matchup today because you're thinking in your head he's going to get that guy 100% of the time one-on-one. That's not the case. Number 2, wide receiver cornerback matchups are one piece of a, depending on how deep you want to go into each individual variable, 10 to 15 point equation. It is one variable out of like 10 to 15 that make up a projection. There's a lot of other things that go into a game. Game flow, amount of times the quarterback's throwing, the target share that goes into that, right? Other wide receivers and skill sets on the team. Overall total defensive matchup, Vegas odds, pace. Lots of things that go into it other than just that. So I think a lot of the times people overrate it and they'll take the wide receiver cornerback matchup as it being 75 to 50 to 75% of the puzzle. Like, okay, it's a decent projection and good. Okay, that's everything, right? No, like you're double counting then. So wide receiver cornerback is good to look at. It is important. It is factored in, but it is 10% of the equation when sometimes some really good cornerbacks are 20% of the equation, right? Depending on how much the weight is. But a lot of people will factor that in as if it's like 80% of the equation. You're overweighting it then. And that's why if you listen on content, people saying they overweight wide receiver cornerback matchups, it's not that people don't care about it. It's just that some people say this guy, this, and that. That's the only reason I'm playing him because of this matchup. That's overweighting it. That is one piece of a puzzle. What we got here? Fellas, smash that like button, please, for the homie Sal. Thank you. Yeah, we've been live for over an hour. We're probably going to wrap it up pretty soon. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want to sign up for Patreon, get the projections, rankings, all that stuff. And again, 1,000+ of you in here, hit the like, hit the subscribe. We'll be live tomorrow at 10 a.m. East Coast time. And check out Jock Market. If you have a phone, I know you have a phone by you because everybody got it as a fifth limb right now, right? A third arm. Not your third leg, a third arm. If you got that right now, take it out, go to Jock Market. It's free to download it. And if you want to play over there, if you want to try it out, there's free contests. And if you ever decide to deposit, the code SAL20, SAL20 will get you up to $20. Projection on ownership on Mr. Terry McLaurin today. My ownership projection for Terry McLaurin is 34%. Yo, Sal, who will win the games today? Aaron Rodgers. I actually have a betting video out. A betting video went out on Tuesday of this week. I have some bets for today. I have 2 bets today, and I have 3 bets today, actually. I have a money line bet in there as well, and then 2 bets tomorrow. QB page, please, sir. Yes, sir. There you go. There's some cubes. Let me make sure that the view is better because there's less people on the QB page. So, yeah, view's good. Nice. Wilson or Brady today? I have a little bit more Brady, but they're kind of toss-ups. Prefer Allen to both of them. Does McKissick have a lot of potential, assuming Washington will go behind and need to throw a lot? Potential, sure. A lot, no. Nick Boyle, love it. Singletary thoughts, G? I currently have Devin Singletary in 0% of my lineups. Cole Kmet, tight end sleeper. For tomorrow, yeah, he's in play. Short on Slate, show the bushy squirrel nuts across your face. Yikes. I read that way too quick. Didn't proofread that one. Trying to filter it out of there. To be honest, I love Josh Reynolds today. Sounds good. Yeah. I mean, tough to like the outside receiver if it's going to be John Wolford or an injured Jared Goff who sucked all year long, but I understand it. He stays on the field a lot. He comes on the field for Cooper Kupp sometimes as well. Good amount of the time. Rodgers stack all playoffs, says Jay Trez. Yeah, I can't wait for next week. All 100%. Unless you're against Jalen Ramsey. Yeah, Jalen Ramsey, it's the same thing. I mean, look, this isn't Sal Vetri against Jalen Ramsey. You're going to get 0 points. It's DK Metcalf against Jalen Ramsey. It affects the projection. It's not making DK Metcalf a bad play today, right? It's not making DK Metcalf. Jalen Ramsey's been great this season. He's not going to be on DK Metcalf 100% of the game. A shadow today would be like 70-75% of the game. That's a lot, but that's not making DK Metcalf a bad play today. Wilson or Brady other than Allen? I basically have Brady and Wilson as a coin flip. I'm going to be playing Allen in my single entry lineups, so I've got more Brady right now, but kind of a coin flip. Do you like the Bill stacks with Allen, Diggs, and other wide receiver, or Tom? I like the Bill stacks more. Healthy Cup versus dinged up Beasley today. I'll go with, this is your decision. Do you think Beasley is badly injured? If yes, go Cup. If no, go Beasley. I like Beasley if he's healthy. We don't know that answer, and we won't. He's active, but we don't know how healthy. Reports are that he's not fully healthy. Sal, I can't wait for you to upload more of your business channel. I'm really looking forward to your business information. Yeah, man. That's potentially something down the road. That's the second channel that there's some stuff on there like budgeting and stuff like that. I enjoy doing that. I have on my board right now behind me. Maybe I'll work on it tomorrow. Probably not today. Maybe Monday. I'm going to be doing a recap of the 2020 business year for Vetri Media, LLC. We'll go over that. Revenue streams, expenses. Basically just explain that. More of the monthly like we were doing over the pandemic. Just to hit on it. And then the NFL season took us by storm. But yeah, just to recap 2020, actually show people that there's a lot of upside in making content and properly having a media company. If you want to do it for yourself, that's fine, or have employees, whatever it might be. Fellas, let's all make some money today. I do the low buy-in. Wishing all you heavy hitters the best of luck. Hey, Christopher Higgins, shout out you. All right, everybody, I think we're good to go. I think we're good to bounce. Hey, man, we got 25% likes. That's a great job. Fellas. Thank you, Gerald. Appreciate you a ton. You think this weekend is more run or pass sided? I mean, all season long it's been more pass, so we'll go with that. Sal, what did you go to school for? I did a 5-year program at Penn State. It was a master's 5-year program. Undergraduate was HR, and then the 5th-year master's, the integrated, was business strategy. Thanks, Sal. Good luck today. Same to you. Pittsburgh wide receivers are cheap, eh, Sal? Yeah, they look good. Diggs or John Brown? Diggs. Rodgers will win MVP. Yeah, he definitely will. Rodgers MVP is locked. Yeah. Your reading speed makes me uncomfortable. Morning, Sal. Wide receiver, $4,000. I was under 4,000. I was thinking Miller. You're talking about the 6-game slate? Yeah, I don't have the 6-game slate up. I would probably prefer Michael Pittman. Is Diggs playing? Yes. Thanks for all the content, man. Yeah, same to you. On Jock Market, do you have to pick the number one overall guy? No. Every single position gets paid out. It's based on what their price point is selling for. If the number one overall guy is not the number one overall guy in there, that's just where they're assuming somebody gets sold. If Josh Allen sells for $10 and he is the number one overall player in fantasy points today, then he gets $25 per share. there's rules in there for how every single position gets paid, right? All the way down to the final position that gets paid $1. So if you're paying for a guy and he finishes dead last in fantasy points today and you pay $4, well, now you're losing $3 per share that you have of him. Sal, NBA stream today? No NBA stream today. Projections will be out in probably a couple hours, but no NBA stream today. No NBA stream when there's NFL streams going on. I'm going to be playing some Frisbee golf, hanging out with the girlfriend. So it's also finally nice outside, so get outside. Probably watch some football, but not a lot. But yeah, chilling out, relaxing, maxing, all cool. All right, everybody. Peace out. Appreciate you a ton. It took me 2 years to not have to slow down Sal's YouTube videos because of his fast talking. Yeah, man, I've got everything I listen to on 2 or 3X, from podcasts to everything. So you're getting there. Let's get them dollar rooskies. We got a lot of positivity in the chat right now. I appreciate that. Happy Saturday to all you beautiful people out there. If you're willing and able and capable, make sure you get some sun today. Make sure you get some exercising, get your heart rate up. That shit changes your day in a major way. And do something fun today, man. Whether that's watching football, whether that's having a DFS sweat, whether that's doing something different, going to a new restaurant, going to a new cafe, do something fun. Enjoy your Saturday. Best of luck, everybody. Yo, disc golf is just shit. I suck at disc golf, and I'm trying to get better. Same thing with golf. But yeah, there's a lot of courses where I am at, so I'm going to try and play some. Peace out, gang. Enjoy the rest of your day. You all rock. I'll see you all in the next one.